Hi, everyone. My name is Lori Black. I'm the Associate Director of the Lowell Milken Fund for American Jewish Music here at the beautiful, albeit 8-bit, UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music. We are all glad that you are here for another edition of the Jewish Music Masterclass. And I'm very excited to present this particular individual who's just made amazing contributions to the world of Jewish music. I can say personally that I've played a number of his works at high holidays, at Shabbos services. He's just made incredible contributions to the world of Jewish music. He is a Dove Award recipient. He is a receiver of a commission from the 92nd Street Y. He writes for TV and film. He has worked with Josh Groban. And yet, he still finds the passion and the importance in diving into Jewish music and finding ways to express his Jewishness through music. So I'm very excited to introduce Michael Hunter Ochs. Thank you so much for joining us from New York, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in the Berkshires, up in Massachusetts,
All right.
close to New York. Um, yeah, but thank you for that introduction, Lori, and I really want to thank Lori and Beth and Mark for inviting me to be part of this Milken program today. When I got the email, I think it was over a month ago. It felt like May 19th was so far off, and and then last week I thought, oh my gosh, it's on Tuesday. I need to figure out how to use Zoom up here, and I'm so glad we could get the technology. So um, I thought before I share some words on Jewish music, and and before we dive into a master class, I'd like us to just start first by just taking a breath because we're all dealing with this situation with Corona, and I personally haven't seen a human face other than my brother, my dad, and my dad's nurse since March 15th. My dad's recovering from illness, so we're being so careful not to bring any germs in. So this makes it even more special for me to have you guys here into the home. And so let's take a breath, and then I'm going to start a new piece. I'm going to share a piece with you all, and then we'll start the class. So you'll take a deep breath. And I thought a new Hashki Venu would be very appropriate during these times. So here it is. Hashki Venu, Adon Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu, shomreinu l'chaim. In the darkness of the night, when I'm scared to close
Michael? Hello, everyone. It looks like we may have just. Uh, Michael, are you there?
I am here.
Hi, Michael. I think we lost audio for a second during the recording. Do you mind just reloading it?
Absolutely, it's right here. I thought we had lost connection, so here we go. Sorry, everybody. My apologies. Here we go. Here we go.
When I'm scared to close my eyes, won't you please my troubled mind? And I need you, Lord, silent song. Keep us coming to me. Hear these songs, so great. Words of me, how sweet no, it's not late, so there's no matter. No, it's not late, so there's no matter. So much trouble, I know it's so much. And I need you so very this song without me for so great. He's so
Wonderful. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. So this is a piece called Hashivenu. And before I start a little presentation, just want to talk for 1 minute on the 3,000 year history of Jewish music. Jewish music has always absorbed and reflected the elements of the times and the geography of the composer. Jumping ahead to the Reform movement, the Progressive movement, in Germany, it was in the late 1700s, early 1800s that organ was actually first introduced into the Jewish service in Hamburg and then later Berlin. And this was very scandalous, very controversial. And at one point, the Jewish community petitioned the local governments to force the removal of the organs. And eventually they reached a compromise that the organ could be played, but only by a Gentile, only by a non-Jew on Shabbat. That story always intrigues me because even today, as a Jewish composer, trying to introduce new music in a synagogue can be controversial. People are very used to what they're used to. And even myself growing up, part of the beauty of synagogue was the continuity of hearing the same melodies that my dad grew up with, that I've heard since I was a little boy. So I understand as a composer that I also want the familiar when I'm in synagogue. So this is a balancing act when you're composing for the synagogue that is central. You're not just writing a piece of music, you're not writing a song. You have to write something that's accessible, that feels familiar even while it's new at the same time. And of course, I'm a pop songwriter, as Lori mentioned, so naturally the American musical influences that I listen to every day, they might try to seep into the Jewish music, and Jewish music always takes on the flavor of the times and where you are. But for me, it's so important, as I know the modern influences are coming in, but everything I write, I try to just know in my inner compass that there's a Jewish heartbeat underneath it all in these songs that can be accomplished through an element of the tonalities and the chord changes and the scale. Or in this song, to me, it's accomplished by the recitation of the Hebrew words. So let's take a look at how this particular piece, it's quite new. And I'd like to share and unpack the writing process with you all, how the song came about. And then if we have time, my goal is to get 3 songs in today in about an hour. Maybe we'll get to 2, and it's important. I'd love to get your questions after each piece. So Hashkivenu, and forgive me, I don't know everybody's online here today. I don't know how familiar you are with the text, and I think it's important to take just a moment to look at the original translation of the text to then see how the piece grew out of the original. So I'm gonna do a screen share here. And okay, so here's what I started with, the original text, in addition to, of course, the Hebrew. I think you can all read that. And on my screen, Lori, I have a strip of faces along the right, so it's hard maybe for me to see everything, and I'm not sure if that's in other folks' way. But the original text is Hashkivenu, lay us down to sleep in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, our King, to life. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, for the sake of your name. Shield us from foe, from plague, from sword, from famine and pestilence. Remove wrongdoing from before us and behind us, and shelter us in your wings. For it is you, O God, who protects and rescues us. It is you, our gracious and compassionate King. Safeguard our coming and our going, and bring us to peace from now to eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who spreads a shelter of peace over us, over all Jerusalem, over the people of Israel. So what I found when I read all of this, as I was going to focus on this refrain, because first and foremost, it's familiar to most Reformed Jews, the Hebrew. I want these songs to be accessible for Shabbat services. This wasn't written to be a solo piece for a cantor. It was written to be sung between the cantor and congregation. So the words, the Hebrew that I kept intact was Hashkivenu, lay us down. Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Lord our God, in peace. Bahamidenu Malkeinu, or we say now in the Reform movement, Shomreinu l'chaim, and wake us up, our King or our guardian, to life. Ufros aleinu sikat shlemecha, spread over us your tabernacle of peace. And then the Hebrew continues, shield us from foe, from plague, from sword, from famine, from anguish, and it goes on. So this was the source material. And for me, the process is really one of getting as familiar and intimate with the original Hebrew and original translations into English as I can. And as I lived with this prayer for weeks, I recognized that this is a prayer truly of asking and of petitioning of God. The prayer in today's language is literally asking God not to let us die in our sleep. Guard our comings and our goings. Help us to get home at night from work on these dark and dangerous roads. At the time this prayer came to be, people were not sure what sleep was. There was a fear of the night. And some looked at a night of sleep as 1/60th of actually death. So this was really a fearful thing, the nighttime in those days. And then the prayer also asked for protection from these everyday dangers of foe, of our enemies, of, ironically, of plague, of disease, of flu, of sword and war and famine. So this is the source material that I knew I wanted to work with. And one small note is that on Shabbat and on Yom Tov, the prayer is extended as opposed to the weekday prayer. Because on Shabbat, our ancestors felt that there's naturally a little bit more safety on Shabbat because people are in the synagogues praying for peace, and they're actually off the streets, and it's a quieter time. So that's where that addendum sort of comes in, who spreads the shelter of peace upon all his people. That is referring particularly to Shabbat evening. So to me, nighttime, help us wake up, protect us. It felt to me like an ancient lullaby, the words, without any melody. To me, it was bringing the sense of a lullaby. And I really also took note that it felt like we're asking quite a bit on the day of rest from God, something that I took note of. And then from a musical and songwriting standpoint, the word hashkivenu, I'm back. Good.
We lost you right at the word hashkivenu.
Okay. I love how that word sounds and feels. And I invite you to say the word out loud, hashkivenu. It's a beautiful sounding word. And, you know, when I'm writing in popular music, sometimes I'm asked to take a prayer, a song, a lyric from Italian and put it into English. And these languages sound so beautiful in their original form. It's not easy to put something into English. So hashkivenu, it just sounded so good to me. And I wanted the song to fully realize the beauty of the word. Excuse me. So I started to sit with the lyrics, and I'm putting the English lyric here before you, and we can talk about the first verse, which, if you recall, the cantor sang a cappella. That was the hashkivenu, Adonai, right? And then I answered her, hashkivenu, in the darkness, Adonai, of the night, Eloheinu, when I'm scared, the shalom, to close my eyes. Vahamidenu, won't you ease my shomreinu, troubled mind, and then we came together, hashkivenu. So that evolved. I noticed that naturally the English words that I was writing sat right on top of the same rhythm of the Hebrew. Hashkivenu, in the darkness. And you might notice that the first verse of English is written very personally, very intimately, first person. When I'm scared to close my eyes, won't you ease my troubled mind? Hashkivenu, lay me down. The second verse is written more from a community standpoint, from our congregation. May you guide us. It goes from when I'm scared to close my eyes to may you guide us. It opens up wider. On our way. And it goes, Hashkivenu, may you guide us. Adonai, on our way. Eloheinu, walk beside us. L'shalom, keep us safe. V'hamidenu, hear these humble, shomrenu, words we pray. Hashkivenu. And then there's a third verse, which is written from an even broader lyrical perspective. So much heartache, so much hurt. It's talking globally. So many hunger, so many search for your shelter and peace on earth. Hashkivenu. And what I tried to do in this last verse is touch upon the original lyric, the original words of the prayer: famine, foe, sword, plague. How do we get these words into a lyric in English? Not just the words, but the feeling of the words in English, in words that sound good as the Hebrew sounds, because the Hebrew, it sounds perfect. So famine became hunger, maybe plague, but it captures, I believe, the spirit of the original. And then there's a B section. The song is written with an A section that repeats, which starts with the melody, Hashkivenu Adonai. And then there's a B section, and I'll play the piece again after we've gone through it. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread out for us a tabernacle of peace. That's the original Hebrew, and the cantor sings this. And the congregation answers, in the shadow of your wings. So one line in Hebrew is answered by a line in English that actually answers the Hebrew phrase. There's a connection to those two lines. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread out this tabernacle of peace in the shadow, in the peace and the comfort of your wings. And it repeats, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha again, spread out this tabernacle of peace in the promise morning brings. So there's hope in this B section. Keep us safe tonight, and things will be better in the morning, which is what my parents told me so many times. I used to have trouble sleeping at night, get through the night, and things look better in the morning. So let's talk a little bit about the writing of this piece. I was commissioned to write this by East End Synagogue in New York and Cantor Shira Ginsburg. So I'm writing specifically for her voice, which I got to know very well. And truthfully, I wrote 3 other versions of this prayer. I went down 3 different roads before I landed on one that I could hear her voice singing in my head to me. Originally, the B section of this song came back twice, but as she and I began to sing it together, the beautiful interplay between the English and the Hebrew, Hashkivenu Adonai, so many hunger, so many search, this playfulness, this interaction, this dance between the Hebrew and English felt like this is the center of the song. And the B section, let's keep it more special and just share it one time. And this is a common song structure. In music terms, we call it A, B, A. The A section is the first refrain you hear. A B section is the second refrain you hear. And so as the song evolved, instead of hearing the B section twice or even a third time, we just share it once. You might also note the musicians among you, in particular, but everybody, that the verse, Hashkivenu Adonai, is written in a major key. Major. Like a lullaby. And it starts a cappella, no piano. I just gave her a tone. And I can just picture a mother or father singing this melody, even if there are no words, as a lullaby to a baby. So the verse is in major key. And then it walks down to the B section, passing chord, into the relative minor. So musically, this piece is one that definitely pulls from a American, almost pop musical vocabulary. So it was important to me that still, how do we find this a Jewish grounding and center and heartbeat to this piece? And that comes from the repetition. I don't think I have another piece of music where the same 6 words of Hebrew get repeated, 6 times, I think, in this song, even more. So the Hebrew heartbeat comes from the original Hebrew text, repeating and repeating and repeating itself. And the English lyrics had to be very simple lyrics to not distract from that. And then finally, in closing, I thought the song was finished. And then the cantor heard it and she loved it. But she grew up in a more conservative Jewish background than I did. And she missed the Chatimah, the final word of the original Hebrew, which I didn't grow up with. But she really wanted this final Hebrew. The Chatimah is like the final seal of a prayer. And somehow, ironically, Bashert, the Hebrew Chatimah fit beautifully with the original melody that I had composed. And it just ended the song in this beautiful way with the cantor and the Chatimah. So that is Hashkivenu. And I'd be happy, Lori, to take some questions.
Great. Let's open it up to questions. You can either raise your hand by clicking in participants that you have the option to raise your hand in the participants bar, or you can just put something into the chat. We'd love to open it up. There's a request to hear it for those who came late.
Okay. Should I play it one more time while you're fielding questions?
I have it queued up on my computer just for the sake of clarity because of the stream. Wait, do we want to just listen to maybe like half of it?
Sure.
Or it's not very long. We can listen to the whole thing. You cut it off if you feel the need, okay?
Yeah.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. In the darkness of the night, when I'm scared to close my eyes, won't you ease my troubled mind? Hush,
why don't we go ahead and open it up for questions now related to this song? And as Michael said at the beginning, there will also be he will open up questions for each of the song examples. So feel free either to raise your hand or post in the chat. Mark has his hand up.
They're wonderful. Thanks, Mark.
Hi, Michael. Thank you. It's so beautiful, and it's great to hear Cantor Shira Ginsburg as well. I'm curious if there were other Hashki Venu examples that you were inspired by in any particular way, because I know sometimes composers look for other things, and sometimes they don't. And I'm just curious if that was the thought process for you.
Sure. And sadly, the sound, Mark, I didn't hear your entire question, but I heard, are there other Hashki Venu that might have influenced me a bit? I heard this part. And yeah, the Hashki Venu, I don't know if it influenced me, but one that I have known for a long time that I just think is beautiful is Yoshi Zweig's Hashki Venu. And structurally, the pieces are very different, but maybe there's a certain mood that the two pieces share, for certainly. This piece here, I lean more on English, if I'm not mistaken. I really took the English quite far on this version. I think when I grew up, I felt that at some of the synagogues I attended as a child, I knew that I didn't understand the Hebrew very well. And I also was aware that many of my friends and my friends' parents also, we weren't fluent in Hebrew. So more and more in the Jewish music I'm writing, a challenge I'm giving myself is to bring more English to some of these prayers, but to do it in such a way that they don't feel like contemporary pop lyrics, that they really draw from the original text, but they're not translations, they're adaptations. So I hope maybe that, but it was Yoshi's is probably the one that I'm most close to. Yoshi's Live. It's just a beautiful piece.
Michael, there's a request to hum a few bars of Yoshi's, also a personal favorite of mine.
Of Yoshi's? Okay, hold on. I've got this one in my head. Yoshi's Hashki Venu Adonai Elohim Shalom Shalom.
That's not Craig Taubman?
Nope,
Right?
That's Yoshi.
It's Yoshi. Okay, fine.
And I play that's Yoshi's, but I put it into the same key that we were just in, and it shouldn't be in that key. But yeah, that's Yoshi's. And he says, yeah, that's Yoshi's if it's familiar to many people, I'm sure. It's just beautiful.
Any other questions related to the Hashki Venu? Well, looks like that's it on that one. Anything else you wanted to add, Michael, on this one?
I'm reading some of the
of course,
comments in the chat right now. Thank you, Vicky. I appreciate it. Okay, should we go on to the next song then, Lori?
Sure, I've got it queued up.
Yeah?
Yep, here we go. Oh, did you want to introduce it first, or should I just go ahead and play?
Sure. I'll just share this next piece. I wasn't sure when I was preparing for today over the weekend what pieces of music to share, and to be really just honest and transparent. This is called a Mourner song, and I was hesitant to share it. I wanted to. The last piece we'll share will be up tempo, but we had a death of a very dear friend this weekend, and this song's been on my mind since Friday now, so I just thought it had to be included today, and maybe it brings someone who's listening some comfort that it brings to me when I hear it. Okay. Lori, just send me a sign that you can hear me now, if you don't mind.
We can hear
And
you.
I'm having trouble seeing you, Lori, and I apologize. You got me. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
So, okay, great. So, a Mourner song. The piece, as you all, I'm sure, recognize, began with the Mourner's Kaddish. And I won't recite the whole English lyric here, but I put it here. May his great name be exalted and sanctified in the world which he created. May he establish his kingdom, and it goes on. May his great name be blessed forever to all eternity. Hymns, praises, consolations that are uttered in the world. And let us say amen. A little background and some notes on the original prayer. And what I'm trying to do is walk you all through the writing process before we get to how the song was written. I did some research, and this prayer is actually written in Aramaic. The Kaddish prayer, which is the Jewish prayer for mourners, is not about death or mourning. It's praising God despite the feeling of despair and being in mourning. But the sound of these words brings us comfort. It's in our Jewish DNA. When we hear a mourner's Kaddish, we know that's what it's about in our hearts. We know. This prayer, not to diminish Hashkivenu or any of the other prayers, but there are some prayers that are so central to Judaism that to write, to set them to new music is such a daunting task. People have personal relationship with the Mourner's Kaddish or with the Shema, which is another prayer that's, how do you write Shema in a current setting? You have to be so careful. So in the task with this Mourner's Kaddish, and again, I'm working closely with Shira Ginsburg these days. East End has commissioned a whole body of work. So the task, as Shira and I were discussing pieces that I would approach in an original way, with a Mourner's Kaddish, Shira felt, as I was saying before, that many of the congregants, we feel the Mourner's Kaddish, the words, but we don't all know what they mean. And if we do read them on the English side of the page, they're not about mourning, and they don't necessarily talk about comfort. So we thought, is there a way that I could write something that would honor the original Mourner's Kaddish? Sacred words, but bring something to it in English that does speak to the sense of loss and the sense of connection. And how do we do something with the Mourner's Kaddish that won't be offensive to anybody, that will still sound familiar while it still sounds new, and still maintains a sense of continuity that the Jewish people feel for the Mourner's Kaddish? So let me go in. Are we sharing the screen right now, Lori? Do you see the screen?
Yes.
So the process here, I started researching Jewish teachings and writings on death. And at one point I came across Psalm 23. And as I was reading it, for you are here with me popped off the page. I shall not fear, for you are here with me, for thou art here with me. And immediately, that was the moment when I knew I could write this piece of music. For you are here with me. After all the Hebrew, I just could see it and hear it. It was all going to culminate with, for you are here with me. So I knew I needed to write an English verse to accompany the whole Mourner's Kaddish that was already heard. And this is what I came up with after I had, for you are here with me. like the waves upon the sea are separate and connected. You are gone, but still by my side. As the seasons must change, to dust we must return again. But love, love, love never dies. And I'd like to talk just for a minute about where these lines come from. Like the waves upon the sea are separate and connected. This is a bit, for me, a little bit of a reference. I was reading a bit about, there's a book called The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. And there's a Buddhist philosophy about how things can be separate and connected at the same time. Where does the day end and the night begin? They're separate, but there's a point where they meet. And that is what I wanted. It just came back to me. I had read it 10 years ago. So like the waves upon the sea are separate and connected, you are gone, but you're still here by my side. As the seasons must change, it's just pulled from Ecclesiastes. To dust we must return again, which is pulled from Genesis 3:19. But love, love, love never dies is adapted. As I was reading about Jewish philosophy and teachings on death, it's adapted from Song of Songs 8:6, which says love is as strong as death. So that's kind of how the verse came to be. And then the chorus, Ki ata imadi, for you are here with me. As soon as I read that, Ki ata imodi, for you are here with me, I mean, light bulb went off. It even has a natural rhyme to it. And it's that simple. The lyric on the chorus is that simple. And also remember, there's so much in the Aramaic. The Kaddish is very long. Yikadal, Yikadash, Merabah. So I felt that the chorus should be very simple, easy to hear and recite. I wanted the music of this piece to connect the two worlds, the living and the world of the departed. So the verse with the Hebrew words is written in the minor key. Here. Sorry. Yikadah, Yikadash, Shemei Rabbah, Bialma, Divra, Pirute. Minor. As the da da da. And then the chorus moves into the major key, the relative major.
Where did it go?
Structure is very common, A, B, A, B. But when we hear the verse for the second time with the English, same basic melody, but it ends differently. But love, love, love. This is in Shira's key. Never dies. And then we come back in with the final line of the chorus. For you are here with me. We leave out the Hebrew the first time. Ki ata imadi. The piano takes it. And then the cantor comes back in. For you are here with me. And then if you notice, and I know you've only heard the song one time, but on the first chorus, it doesn't really resolve. For you are here with me. It leaves this open feeling. But when the song ends, it ends, for you are here with me. So you finally get the resolution at the very, very end of the piece. Even the verses don't really resolve with a perfect musical cadence. Now I'll just go back one moment. The chorus melody on this song, it's very special to me. It's very simple melody. It's just, I should have it in my key, but I'm in Shearer's key. It's key, a, ta, I, mo, di. One note, basically. Key, a, ta, I, ma, di. And then it continues. For you are here with me. It's basically one note with two neighboring tones. And to me, and I had more complicated variations of that while I was writing, but I wanted the melody of the chorus to be so simple and, if possible, to open up a channel straight to those we're missing, to those who have left us. And I also do like that the word here is the one spot on the chorus where the melody goes a little bit away. Ki ata imodi, for you are here with me. The word here is so grounded, but some reason it felt right that the melody goes away for a moment and then comes back. That's the basic way that this piece was written. When we share it in synagogues so far, and it's brand new, what we tend to different ways, but what seems to work the best is to actually recite the traditional Kaddish first, and then play this piece after we've shared the traditional Mourner's Kaddish. And this is one of the pieces now where when I share it after service, I'm getting more and more folks coming up to me after this piece, and maybe the goal was to stay with the Mourner's Kaddish and not stray, and that's why when the Hebrew is being sung, it's in minor. It's traditional chords, very minor and traditional. And then it opens up. Kiata imodi, for you are here with me. This is the Mourner's Kaddish, a Mourner song. And I'd be happy to take some questions or move on to one more song. I see some questions up there, Lori. So,
if it's okay, I'm gonna use my position for a moment and just ask you the first question, because first of all, this is the first time I've heard this one, and it's truly stunning. I mean, really, really moving. But the first thing that hit me was the Mourner's Kaddish is being sung. It's like someone come over here and look, the Mourner's Kaddish is being sung. It's like it's all. I mean, when you framed it as it's spoken first and then sung, that makes a lot of sense to me. But I was just wondering, did you have any debate as to how you were going to handle that? I mean, that's a big change.
Lori, forgive me, my friends. I missed much of your question, Lori.
I was basically saying that it's a very powerful move to choose.
Hey, Lori, maybe you can quickly type the question in the chat for me. I so apologize. Forgive me. Might you
I just sent you a message.
You did, okay. And now you're back, actually.
Of course. I was saying that it's a very powerful choice to sing the Kaddish rather than speak it. And I was just wondering, what was the debate about that, the discussion that you had, or was it, this needs to be sung, this makes sense to me? I'm just curious how you arrived there.
Yeah, sure. I really appreciate the question, because putting Hebrew prayers to music isn't just putting a melody to the Hebrew words. To me, it has to be done with so much care and almost trepidation. And of course, as Lori mentions, to sing the Kaddish. But I had this feeling about maybe 4 or 5 years before Shira Cantor Ginsburg asked me to compose a piece like this. I had been feeling for a long time I wanted to try to attempt to do something with the Mourner's Kaddish. And even though it is sung, Lori, as you point out, I mean, the melody it's not a soaring melody on the Hebrew. I wanted to keep the Hebrew somewhat in a spoken way, right? Yikada, v'yikada, shemei rabbah. It's very talking. It's very talkative. V'yama divra hirute. There's really not much to it. V'yami malchute chayachom uv'yomechom uv'chayei t'chol be'Yisrael. Speaking it, but then it should be really higher here. I'll go down. Ki ata imadi, for you are here with me. That's sung, but the verse is almost spoken.
Do we have any other questions about this beautiful, beautiful piece? There was a couple of questions, Michael, related to how one can acquire sheet music to this.
Oh, okay. Thanks for that question. And I'm looking at Aviva's comment. What makes it wonderful is that you don't just drone through the words, even though it's close to speech. Thank you for that comment. I really appreciate that. It's a very sensitive lyric to approach, and the music had to be taken as such. I was fortunate. Transcontinental Music, just about 8 weeks ago, released the Hunter Ochs Jewish Music Anthology. So all the songs we share tonight are in that book. They're also available at Transcontinental as single sheets of music if you don't want the whole book. The book itself, one thing we did, the book comes with a password.
I think we lost you again, Michael. You're here somewhere. I see you. And you're back. Right, unmute you. There you go.
Yeah. So Transcontinental Music has all the sheet music available. And the book itself actually comes with a password to a website where there's musical examples of all the songs, multiple examples of many of the songs, different arrangements. There's some piano tutorials in there, some suggestions for different ways to share the song with congregation and behind the scenes stories. So it's 27 songs in the songbook, and it comes with a whole wealth of other information about each piece. Some questions. Thank you.
There's a question
here. The slides from the presentation. Yeah. Is that the question?
Yeah, there's a question about acquiring presentation slides, if you're willing.
I can share some of the information from the slides. Whoever was asking for that, feel free to email me, Michael at oaksongs.com. My website, if you go to michaelhunterochs.com, it's very easy to send me a message for this. Absolutely.
All right. Well, it's been an hour. I know you said you had a third example. Did you want to
9 o'clock. I feel, if it's okay, of course, I know people might have other commitments, but Lori, maybe we can end on an up tempo.
Yeah, we can go a few minutes over. I think that's fine. I apologize if anyone needs to go. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, thank you. But if you don't have to go, one more up tempo number. I have the Adon Olam queued up. Is what?
Perfect. That'll be great. That'll be great.
Should I share the screen? Should I go ahead and do it?
So this is a new approach to Adon Olam. And it's a little bit different. This one I didn't want to put any English to, so I just relied on all the Hebrew verses and used some musical techniques and devices and composition to get it to happen.
All right, Michael. Michael, are you frozen? Alas. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience while we're dealing with. There we go.
We are back. I really apologize. It wasn't like this on other days.
No problem.
Yeah, so I know Lori's a percussionist. So to me, what makes this piece speak to me, as I probably don't have to say it, I could let Lori talk about it. It has many time changes, rhythm changes, feel changes. And I didn't want to put any English to this piece. I grew up, and this was my favorite piece of music on Shabbat. I loved how the Hebrew words, I didn't know what they were saying. They were going so fast. I was trying to do it. And it's this memory I just have of all of us kids trying to sing Adon Olam and get through the words. And I wanted to do something that kind of paid homage to how I grew up, looking forward to Adon Olam at the end of Shabbat, try to get the words in. So instead of relying on bringing English to it, I wanted to do something with the music to differentiate it from the versions that I know. So if you listen to the melody, the verse melody is very symmetrical. Then it adds the minor note. And so the verse melody is in a major key, and it's a very simple 4-note pattern. And then to get into the minor key on the chorus, it's just a dramatic, full stop, giant retardando, and then the chorus starts in a slower tempo. And as the song continues, the chorus gets faster and faster each time you hear it. And the other technique that's really fun about this song, I also grew up with two versions, but one was Adon Olam, Asher Malach, Asher Malach. So I wanted to do something with an echo, but I didn't want to copy what had already been done. So on this song, the Hebrew says Adon Olam, Asher Malach, and then the other call is the answer to that is I, B'terem kol yitzur nivra, I. And then it races on, and that's my tribute to the Uzi Hitman version right there. And so this is just meant to be a fun piece of music. No English, get through the Hebrew, learn the Hebrew as best you can, and try to keep up with the band. That's what this piece is really about for me. And happy to take any questions as well on this one, or any of the other songs if anything comes back up, or any subjects on Jewish music or my Jewish music. I'm happy to chat about anything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michael. Let's open it up to questions. Anyone, feel free to jump in with a question. I think there's a few enough here that if you want to just unmute yourself and ask a question, feel free, or put it into the chat if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, sure. There we go. We still have 17 folks here. That's great.
Couple folks on Facebook. Thank you for watching.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Are most of y'all out there in California, or where's everybody tuning in from? I'd be so curious. Since we're all in some isolation, it's nice to know where we are. Maybe if you want to post that in the chat window, or just take off the mutes and let it roll.
All right.
Philadelphia.
Los Angeles.
Okay, hello. Los Angeles.
We got LA,
Jonathan
we've got
Wisner,
Philadelphia.
Los Angeles.
Northridge, California.
Hello, Northridge.
Whoa, that's so cool.
Sherman Oaks,
I, lo-
LA.
oh, I'm sorry. One more time. Was that Cindy?
Oh, Cindy, Sherman Oaks, that's in the valley of Los Angeles.
No, I don't think I'm related. Mark I see a question here. Your music has a bright, refreshing quality. I'm curious to know if your approach to synagogue music is different from the other music you write. Yes, it's very different. There's, of course, similarities, but it is different. I write a lot of pop music for radio, and TV, and for young, hip recording artists around the world. And when I'm writing for pop music, it's about, of course, I always, whenever I write, the similarity between the Jewish and the pop world for me, even in pop world, I have to find something authentic and a real integrity. Even if I'm writing a dance song with electronic drums and it's called EDM, electronic dance music, I still want to tell an authentic, honest story. Even if it sounds like light fluff lyrics, I can promise you, if you're listening to one of my pop songs, there's something in that lyric that's either personal to me, one of my co-writers, or we were trying to share a story or a feeling that meant something to us at the time. That's the overlap with Jewish music. But also with the pop music, we're trying to sell records and we're trying to get on the radio, and we're trying to make someone a star if they're not already a star, or we're trying to keep people listening to them. But in the Jewish world, what I'm trying to do, there's several things I'm trying to do, and it does depend on the piece. First and foremost, I want to honor the original text. I want to capture the essence and the feeling of the original text, both musically and in any English interpretation or adaptation. And I'm careful to say I'm not a translator. The lyrics to Hashkivenu that we heard earlier, Mourner's Kaddish, they're adaptations, they're not translations. But I want to honor that. And I want the song to be easily sung by children in synagogue, but to also be fresh and speak to adults at the same time. I actually like to say I like the music to feel easy, but knowing that it's actually not simple. Something that sounds easy, but it's not simple. Children can sing it. Their parents, their grandparents can sing it and not feel like they're singing a children's song, but the children can grasp it. And then sometimes there'll be a piece for synagogue where I'm looking at it as a solo piece for a cantor. But more often than not, I want there to be elements so that the whole congregation can come together and sing together, and feel that sense of community and feel a connection to something bigger, feel a connection to that little voice inside, wherever you or I may believe it comes from. I want to feel that connection. It's about connection, and it's about feeling and helping to capture the feeling of a song and share that feeling so we're all feeling something together. Music is a bridge. Music is meant to be a bridge between people, between nations, between ourselves, and hopefully to the divine.
All right, unless there's any other questions, and feel free to jump in. I just got to say, what you just said just speaks multitudes about how everything I've been thinking during this class, that you really understand how to create connections between people. It's clearly your mission, and it comes across in your music. So really, thank you for taking the time to do this. On behalf of the Milken Fund, all of us online, everybody on Facebook, I can't thank you enough. I think this was an amazing class. You really gave us insight into your process. but also into the neshama, the spirit there. And I think there's something really special about that. So thank you so much. And with that, if everyone wants to go ahead and unmute yourselves and give Michael a real round of applause. Here, I'll unmute everybody. Thank you.
We're unmuted.
Hey, bravo, Michael. Great.
Thank you very much.
And with that,
Wonderful.
I will go ahead and end the meeting for all. Thank you all for coming this
Thank
week. We will be back, same bat time, same back channel next week with another wonderful artist. So please do join us. And thank you again. Take care.